Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. It's so great to see you in this room. Thanks for chiming in the chat. I'm so glad to have you here with us. And we're so excited that you're joining us for this Donorbox webinar. My name is Jenna, and I'm the nonprofit advocate here at Donorbox. And I'll also be the moderator for this webinar today for Kara here. Before I introduce Kara, although hi, Kara, for those of you who are not familiar with Donorbox, we provide nonprofits with simple, effective, and affordable tools to manage their fundraising activities and connect with donors on a deeper level. To date, we have helped 50,000 organizations raise over more than $1 billion in donations. To learn more about us, you can visit us on our site at donorbox.org. And again, today I'm so excited to be joined by Kara Augsburger to help you get year-end ready. You guys, we are in such good hands today. So as a longtime development professional, Kara currently serves as the fundraising coach here at Donorbox and focuses on consulting with nonprofits of all sizes, specializing in project management and fundraising consulting. Her expertise is in coaching, annual fundraising, project management, and communications. She earned her certified fundraising executive and project management professional credentials. She is also a member of the Association of Fundraising Professionals and is actively involved with organizations focused on providing relief from homelessness and food insecurity in Indianapolis, there we go, and in New York City. So again, we are in such great hands today. Welcome, Kara.
Hi, guys. Thanks, Jenna. Thanks for that warm intro.
Of course. Now, before I pass the baton over to you officially, I just have a couple of housekeeping items. Everyone, please note that this presentation will be about 40 minutes long with an additional time allotted at the end for Q&A, probably about 15 minutes there. This webinar is being recorded. We've got you covered, and all registrants will receive a link to the recording and all the resources that we mentioned today after the webinar, probably tomorrow, via email. So keep an eye out for that. And finally, please feel free to drop questions in the chat throughout this presentation. We love engagement. So we will be marking those questions behind the scenes to make sure that we can answer as many as we can before the session ends. So that's it. Kara, I will pass it over to you.
Thank you, Jenna, so much. Well, welcome. I am the fundraising coach at Donorbox, and at Donorbox, we love sharing practical, actionable learning resources to keep you on top of all that's going on in our rapidly growing nonprofit sector. So I'm honored to be surrounded by colleagues like Jenna here at Donorbox who have actually worked in nonprofits, from fundraising to operations to volunteer engagement and donor relations and communications. We've been in your shoes and we get it. And today we'll be talking about what's going to be all the chatter in the next couple of months. It's really great to be having this conversation now. So thank you so much for joining today. We are going to talk about why it's such a big deal to focus on giving season and getting your year end in order, and how to navigate it. So on our agenda today, we'll talk about why the year end is so important to every nonprofit, and hopefully make the case to start planning now, plan a little early. We'll share a snapshot of what a year end plan could look like for you and your organization. Plus, we'll wrap up with a special announcement and time to hear from you and what's on your mind. So like Jenna mentioned, you're welcome to post your questions as they pop up in your mind throughout the session, and we'll tackle them at the end. And if someone posted a question that you were also thinking about, I think you can go ahead and upvote that. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, first, let's get a little taste of where everyone is coming from. Jenna has a poll for us, and hoping that you might participate. What is your organization's approach to year-end fundraising planning? The earlier, the better. Or maybe we start planning around November, or we throw something together and hope for the best, or who has time to plan? So go ahead and put your votes in there of where you are. And I am very curious to see from each of you. We'll give it another minute here. Awesome. Looks like most of you have entered, maybe 68% of you. There we go. Okay, I love this. Most of you said the earlier the better, which is fabulous, followed closely by option C there. We post and hope for the best. So it sounds like we're kind of all over the place, which is great. But a year-end fundraising campaign is one of the most important initiatives a nonprofit will tackle in any given year. And it requires planning, hard work, commitment. It requires a lean and agile approach to work, and it requires you to learn fast and listen to supporters and donors. And your year-end campaign needs innovation and courage and creativity to stand out. And so that is why we are here today. Okay, quick quiz as we get started. True or false? Giving Tuesday is the time of year most organizations raise their largest percentage of donations. True or false? Giving Tuesday. Thank you all for casting your votes. All right, we'll give it another little bit. Don't you hate pop quizzes? Oh, I always hated them in school, and here I am giving you one. The good thing is you will not be graded. Okay. Looks like most of you have answered, and most of you answered true. Well, those of you who answered false are correct. And I really want to reinforce this fact. Many nonprofits focus most of their efforts on Giving Tuesday, and they might think that Giving Tuesday is the biggest day of the year for donations, but data tells us a little different story. I want you to take a look at this graph, and I'm sorry my text below is very tiny. I should make that larger for you. Giving Tuesday is not the biggest giving day of the year. It's often the kickoff to the year-end giving season. It should not be overlooked. So look at this graph. That first bump in year-end giving is Giving Tuesday. I should probably explain. This is a graph of all Donorbox organizations and what they raised at their year-end last year. So it starts at November 15th. That white line starts November 15th and ends January 15th. Two major spikes we need to think about. The first spike is Giving Tuesday, and that's significant. They raised a lot of money on Giving Tuesday for sure. But look at those last few days of the year. We know, and research has shown us year after year, that this is staying consistent. More than a third of annual giving occurs those last 3 months of the year. So October, November, December. But most of all that giving happens in the last couple days of the year. So most giving happens that last 48 hours. And so that is why it's important for us to look at a campaign that's longer than just Giving Tuesday. So why is it? Why are those last 3 months so important? And simply put, a lot of donors only give at year end. It's become a tradition in their lives, and it coincides with other traditions happening at the same time. Many years of research have shown that giving mirrors a lot of consumer behavior. So when you see the stores having ads and promotions and things like that, giving often reflects spending. And the holiday season tends to put supporters in a generous mood. And with the holiday season comes giving season, like I said. And then in December, it's the last chance for individuals to make tax-deductible contributions for the year. And so that's really a big driver, especially in those last days. So you'll want to think about what you're communicating throughout those last few months and direct them towards what is motivating people to give at those times. So donors are looking for a way to give, and it's up to you to make it easy for them. And planning a winning year-end giving campaign can make you stand out. And you can be the organization donors choose to remember at year-end. All of it, though, is dependent on you and your organization developing a strategy to finish strong this year. So here are some stats to further make the case about year-end fundraising and why it's so important. And you may start to see these stats all over the place, all over social media, all over blog posts and emails that you receive in your inbox. So keep your eyes out for those. But most giving happens at year end, like what we said earlier. We know it's close to 30 to 35% of overall giving for most organizations. And did you know that nearly a third of organizations overall raise half of their total annual income in the last few months of the year? So just like Black Friday often puts retail in the black for the year, it's really kind of the same for a lot of nonprofits too. They're kind of stretched with giving until the end of the year and then almost raise half of their revenue. Is that the case for you? I don't know, but you might want to take a look at those stats and see. We also know that 74% of adults plan to make a charitable contribution this holiday season, and most will spread that out among 2 or 3 organizations. And don't you want to be in their top 2 or 3 that they're thinking of supporting? I would. We have some tips that'll help push you to the top of their minds when they think about giving this year. So we'll talk about those here in a minute too. Okay, why plan? Donorbox has a really great podcast, and this past week's episode really resonated with me. We asked, why plan? And the answer was, a good plan keeps you focused and stops you from chasing every shiny new idea. And it helps with these things here. It helps balance your activities. So squeezing in too many fundraisers and asks into too short of a time may really overwhelm and annoy your donors and put a lot of wear and tear on your team too. So by planning, you're introducing more balance there. It also allows you time to time your appeals for the best results and reduce stress for your team. The gift of time and less stress, we can all use that. And just looking at these words, focus, balance, more time, less stress, brings a sense of calm over me. So that is a win for a plan right there. And just think about the stress you feel when you're really trying to cram some things in. So a good plan also keeps your board engaged. You can show them exactly what's coming up and invite them to choose which activities they want to be involved in. And it gives you the power to deflect those really great new ideas your board or staff or volunteers come up with, because you can show them what you have already planned. So with a plan, you'll be more productive because you'll be working on tasks that move you towards your goals. You'll feel confident that you aren't wasting time on unproductive things, and you'll leverage your resources of time and energy and money on things that will give you the greatest return on investment. So that is why we plan. Okay, let's talk about the actual campaign. Your year-end fundraising is a campaign. A campaign is a planned set of activities that's carried out over a period of time. It achieves something that you've directed. Some examples of a campaign might be a political campaign, a marketing campaign, or a military campaign. They have a beginning and an end. So a good fundraising campaign and your plan around that hinge around a defined goal and an end result. And it's time bound. It is not open-ended. It has a beginning and it has an end. And that allows you to plan and monitor and assess and all the things you need to do throughout. Okay, your campaign is filled with milestones. Some milestones are essential prior to your campaign, and some milestones run throughout your campaign, and some are post-campaign. Your campaign is going to be targeted. You're going to have a defined audience. You want to identify your key audience before you plan your campaign. Then you'll have a clear call to action that you can share with them. And then you combine your audience and your call to action with some thought out channels and delivery methods. And then you have the best way to reach your supporters and move them to act. And here is a quick aside. Think about what your best channels are. What are your best communication channels? And you'll really want to promote those and use those as the anchor of your year-end plan. But don't overlook the other ones too, because they all interplay really well together. So let's break this down. So that's a plan in general. What does your year-end campaign look like? Okay. For milestones for year-end planning often look like this. And this is a model that I've followed for many, many year-end fundraising campaigns. And I think it might work for you too. But a year-end campaign often begins around the 1st of November and wraps up right before we ring in the new year. And Giving Tuesday is a milestone that's usually right in the middle. It's November 30 this year, I believe. And it's a significant milestone. And I want to talk a minute about Giving Tuesday. So your year-end fundraising campaign should really be aligned with Giving Tuesday for a number of reasons. That it's an annual 24-hour giving day, and it's created to counter that retail-heavy push that begins with Black Friday, and it has thousands and thousands of nonprofits and businesses and governments and everyone participating in a drive to highlight generosity and partnership for good. Giving Tuesday is November 30. I think I said that, but it's a prime time for your nonprofits to really kick off and amp up these year-end campaigns. We've seen many of our own Donorbox users really have successful Giving Tuesday campaigns when they integrate peer-to-peer fundraising and crowdfunding campaigns, and we really recommend that you do the same. That's a great time for that. Giving Tuesday has some built-in awareness advantages, like extra attention and spotlight. Because Giving Tuesday is so highly publicized, there's a ton of like plug and play tools and brand assets from givingtuesday.org that you can help market your campaign. And the more people focused on taking part and participating in Giving Tuesday ultimately just means more support for the nonprofit community overall and more awareness for your organization. But there is an overwhelming amount of noise on Giving Tuesday. Every organization is emailing and calling and promoting on social media all day long, and it's really hard to be heard among the noise, which is why we need to take time and do some work right now so that we can stand out among the noise. And so when we think of year-end planning, we spend a lot of time on the front end. And we need to spend an adequate, maybe an abundant amount of time setting up the plan. And what does the setup entail? So you're going to look at your previous results. How much did you raise between November 1st and December 31st last year? Maybe for 3 years, what did it look like to your organization? Look at why donors would choose to support you and why they should choose to support you this year. Do you maybe have a concrete program or fundraising plan, something that fundraising could support that would motivate them to give? Starting early helps you prep your tech and your team for an all-in effort. You can get your messaging and channels all aligned and looking really great. You can build in time for printing and postage and taking a good look at your donors and taking a look around to figure out where you can find potential new donors too. And now is a really great time to also plan for any sort of campaign matching programs or challenges. You might have a major donor who could step up to help you with this, but going to them at the last minute will not do them or you really any favors. So now is a really good time to look at all that setup. Okay. And then after we set up, taking time to inspire your donors and remind them of why you're great and why your cause this giving season is really important. And that's our next milestone, inspire. And I really can't think of a better time than right now and in the next month or so to really show your donors some extra care and make them feel seen. It's a great time to talk about the impact you've had this year. And it's a great time to get in the forefront of your donors' minds and build that trust. We know that donors will give when they know and they trust and they like you. And if you only approach them when you need money, you will violate that trust. And trust takes time and intentionality. So now is a really great time to really inspire them. So what are your favorite ways to inspire your donors? I really want you to put that in the chat. What are some things that you do in your organization that make your donors feel seen? Do you mind throwing that in the chat real fast? Let's take a look. Testimonials. Those are great. I love that, Brooke. That is awesome. Anything else? communications personal, not too professional. Yep, keep it real. Sound like you're talking to a friend and not a business letter. I like that. Emily says, sent out a Valentine's Day. We love you and appreciate you postcards. Oh, Valentine's Day is awesome. Not many other organizations are communicating around Valentine's Day, and it's a way to beat the winter blahs. Julianne says, engagement surveys. I love that. That's one of my favorites. Okay, Troy has an annual general meeting for monthly donors, including an impact overview, Q&A, etc. Oh my gosh, Troy, that is brilliant. Emily Ann has a donor feature in a quarterly newsletter. That is awesome. And Jenna, yeah, making phone calls to say hello. Those are really great. I think, wow, those are, you guys have a couple that I hadn't even thought of. I think that's really brilliant. One thing that I've seen people do is serve alongside their donors too. So if you have volunteer or serving opportunities, make sure that your executive director, your fundraising team are serving alongside your donors too, and just making yourself available, or a postcard or a magnet that maybe they can get in their mailbox so they have it in front of them, for the next couple months. That might be something helpful too. You guys have some really, really fabulous ideas. Thank you. Okay. So now we move into kickoff mode. So we've planned, we've inspired, and now we put our plan into action. So in November, you're going to plan to announce your campaign. You'll send emails, letters, social media posts, and you'll reinforce the messages. So you worked in your setup about, creating a fundraising goal, creating your why we should support you. We call it your case for support. And so now you're going to write out your communication pieces, and you're going to get ready to launch them. And it's going to be a collaborative communication campaign throughout the next couple months. Okay, so in the chat, tell me, how many times do we as people need to hear a message and have that message reinforced before we act on it? I think we might all know this one. How many times? 7, 29, 7 to 8. I love it. 100. Yes. Peter, that's awesome. Okay. Well, research says 7. There's an old marketing adage, the rule of 7, that people need to hear and have that message reinforced before they take action on it. And a fun fact, that adage that rule of 7 was actually developed in the 1930s for the movie industry. And I think it's now somewhere maybe between 7 and 100 that Peter posted, just because our attention spans are a little shorter and the message volume is a lot greater. But whatever that number is, it's 7 or whatever, it's not cast in stone. It could be 9, it could be 5. Or something like you. But the big idea of that rule of 7 and the reinforcement is that means that you can't just throw a communications or marketing activity out there, be done with it, and wish for the best. Your messaging has to be an ongoing process for it to be successful. So on our little graph here, you'll add in some promotion milestones. And so this is where it's tricky, because we've all had the challenge of trying to say the same thing in a new, inspiring way, and then making a little bit different depending on your delivery channel. So what you say in mail is going to be a little different from email and social media, and that is a challenge. And it's extra hard. It's particularly difficult when you're pinched for time. And so inspiration is really hard to come by when you're stressed. So that's why we encourage everyone to start a little early. Okay, more milestones. We know, we just learned that those last few days of the year are so very important. And most giving happens during the last 48 hours of the year. So we must remind our donors of the great giving opportunities and the difference their gift will make in this world. Maybe remind them of those tax advantages too. We'll show them with our words and our photos how their dollars will deliver programs and services that are life-changing and impactful. And this is where we've seen a lot of Donorbox users have great success with a campaign goal meter, some countdown reminders where the subject line is 48 more hours to give, 24 more hours to give, 5 more hours to give, because those really convey urgency and progress to goal. So how are you feeling? Are you comfortable with this outreach somewhere between 7 and 100. And the volume of touch points, is it more than you've done in the past? Is it less than you've done in the past? I don't know. I hope you're comfortable with it, because I'll say that sometimes progress happens when you push past comfortable. I tell my kids that all the time. But I will also say that any promotion or reminders or copy that you're writing will feel more overwhelming to you than to absolutely anyone else, because you're seeing all of these messages and you're probably reading them multiple times. Your supporters may only be catching a couple here and there, so they're not going to be quite as overwhelmed as you perceive that they will be. I promise you that. Okay, so then we cross into the new year. We pause, we catch our breath, and hopefully you'll be really, really busy on gift entry and measuring your progress to goal. And you'll spend time in January issuing your tax receipts. But that can be really transactional. And so I encourage you to really share genuine appreciation and show the results of your year-end campaign to your supporters. So taking it a step beyond the tax receipt into a genuine, acknowledgement and appreciation after your campaign has wrapped up. So that's what your year-end plan looks like. I'm going to put my project manager hat on here and break these stages down to planning. So we have up until November, we're planning. November through the end of December is execution. We're in action. We're adjusting as we need to. If we're seeing that the response to a communication piece or a channel isn't working well, we're going to kind of redirect it and assess. And then at the end of the year, we wrap up. We make sure it's tied up nice and neat in a bow. We record our results. We compare it to previous years. And we often focus a lot on the execution and rush through the planning and the wrap up. And I want to just reinforce that time spent on planning and wrap up is really, really well invested. So make sure that they are part of your plan. Okay, question for you. What % of organizations start their year-end campaign in October? What do you think? Would you put it in the chat? Let's see. What % start planning their year-end campaign in October? Okay, Brianna, hi, 15%, 50, 25, all over the board. I love this. Okay, the answer is 54%. So those of you close to 50 was about right. So half of our organizations are just starting in October. So we want to really get a leg up and start on this now. And we've seen many organizations throw a social media post up on Giving Tuesday, and they wonder why it doesn't work. I've heard Giving Tuesday organization say that about many organizations too. They just say, I don't know why I didn't raise any money. So it really makes sense to start planning early if you want to ensure that the success of your year-end campaign is going to go well. Especially since so many fundraising appeals from so many organizations go out at the same time, it can overwhelm donors and overwhelm your team. And by starting early, you're going to get your message out a little earlier than half of those people at least. So creating that comprehensive plan is hard when it's just squeezed in as another to-do. So you really have to be intentional and carve out the time and make a commitment as an organization, your team, your volunteers to do it now. And then you can set it up to free up to spend time on other things in the busy giving season ahead because your plan is going to be done. It's hard work, but better results happen when you allow the time needed to do the work. And we say that a lot at my house too, because we often find ourselves rushing through and not doing as well as we could. So, okay, so let's talk about the time involved. We know we have to dedicate some intentionality and hard work. We already said, yep, we're going to do that. So let's talk about the time. How much time do I need to commit to doing a fundraising campaign well? And it honestly depends. And it probably just depends at how seasoned you are at fundraising. It may be a breeze for you. You know what's worked well for you in the past. You've made notes on how to improve. If you're seasoned, you've likely invested in keeping on top of industry trends and know how society factors into things like how to fundraise in a recession or fundraise through a natural disaster, and then how to assess and navigate the risks that pop up. If you're not a lean, mean fundraising machine, it may take more time, and it could take time to research and read from the experts. It'll take time to assemble your copy and read up on when it's best to deliver it and how to communicate the right message to the right people. And it could be time that you don't have. And so we have something that may help. We've been working on something very, very special for you. We just launched Donorbox Academy this month, and we had you in mind when we created it. Donorbox Academy will be very interactive and offer a number of resources and courses. And we don't just talk high level about these concepts, kind of like we are today. Through the Academy courses, we are putting the concepts into work so that you can apply them very quickly to you for your organization. And for those of you who are overwhelmed by everything that we've gone through together in the last couple slides, or you may just want to get a jump start on the giving season, we have our first new masterclass. It's a masterclass series, and our first masterclass is going to talk about year-end fundraising. It's a new course that I'm planning about how to create your entire year-end fundraising plan in just 30 days. I've had a bunch of great responses from people about the idea, and I'm looking for a small number of pilot students to try this out. So, and we're offering a significant discount and an extra level of support to help with this year-end plan. And this is really fun. When you complete the course, you can earn 5 CFRE credits that you can apply toward earning your CFRE credentials. CFRE stands for Certified Fundraising Executive. CFRE is the world's only accredited certification for fundraising professionals. And to earn or maintain those CFRE credentials, fundraisers need to regularly engage in continuing education. I just got to notice that my battery is low on my computer. So sorry about that. But anyway, I know there's some CFREs in the audience today, and if you've earned those credentials, I encourage you to put those in the chat. Sorry. And we want to celebrate you. So with our new Donorbox Academy, you'll be joined by our team of Donorbox professionals, and we'll help you craft and set up and put these strategies to work. So, excuse me. Okay, so here's what we're going to do in the Donorbox Academy course. If my power cuts out, I'm plugged in, but for some reason my battery's failing, Jenna will take the lead and kind of explain to you what's going on here. Sorry. Okay, creating your year-end campaign has a lot of moving parts, and that's why you need live programming plus the templates we're going to offer so you don't have to do it alone. We're going to put your plan together now to reduce the time to turn your best campaign ideas into live working strategies for you. And this is a guided course to get you there faster. So what we're going to do is we're going to work together from August 3rd to September 2nd to create the best plan for you. We're going to create a fundraising plan and your case for support. We're going to identify audience segments and prep your team and your tech. And then we're going to set up a branded giving page for you and plan your timeline. We're going to write and schedule fundraising appeals. And we have a very cool workbook where that you'll use to craft a few versions of your fundraising appeals and build that content to be a great fit for social media and things like that too. And then we're going to create a stewardship plan. And I will say that the workload is going to be very, very heavy on the front end. I think week 1 and week 2 are going to have a heavier workload than the other weeks. So please keep that in mind when you're planning. Okay, and here's our process. Each week, we're going to release new content to you. And this will include additional resources and homework to help educate you on various topics. You'll get a workbook to compile all your notes. And this workbook will help guide you and stay on task. And we're going to have live sessions every Wednesday at noon Eastern. The recordings from the live sessions will be uploaded to the course about an hour after we wrap. And we've heard many people have a day job and can't attend the live sessions, or they want to take some time away and get some vacation time. And that's okay, because you're going to have access to the course until January 31st, which is really cool. You'll receive a guided workbook plus resources and templates, and you'll work through these lesson by lesson. And then at the end, you're going to have your whole plan for the year end, which is really cool. We'll have weekly office hours and a Q&A session, and you'll get your questions asked. We'll meet Monday afternoons at 4 p.m. Eastern, and we'll just open a Zoom room. We'll take a look at what you've been working on, provide feedback, and answer your questions one-on-one, which is really cool. And then we have a special section of the Donorbox Knowledge community that is just for our course students. And you can interact with Donorbox team and coaches, and it's really a great place to ask students other course-related questions too, which is really cool. And so everything you create is yours. You can download and keep it forever. And the best part is you get to block out time on your calendar to be intentional about working on your plan. And even during our weekly check-in hours, you can have your computer up. You can use it as time to work, check in with questions when you have them. It really is a gift of time. Okay, so you might say, what's the catch? So success doesn't happen overnight. We know this, but we'll get you there in 30 days. And I would like to offer you first dibs on the spots for this August class. So this is the first time we're offering it. And so because of that, we have a special rate of $129 if you register now. The rate goes up to $199 after August 3rd. And then for any other future sessions we have will be around that $199 range. And I know you might be thinking, why should we charge? It's valuable. I have colleagues who will work with you in a consulting relationship that's typically valued at hundreds of dollars an hour. And we offer this type of consulting relationship as a premium service to our Donorbox premium clients. And we really want you to benefit from the same care. And so you can enroll you can research this and do this all on your own. I know you can, but there's more information floating around out there than ever before. And it really is overwhelming. And those of us on the Donorbox team have already spent countless hours and a lot of trial and error learning the best practices for planning and implementing a successful year-end campaign. So we really want to offer this as a shortcut for you. And you can do it on your own. I know you can, but the staff time you'll save by having the process delivered to you and receiving this personalized feedback is extremely valuable. And this offer is available to everyone until August 3rd. But because you're on this webinar today, I want to extend you a special extra discount. You can use the promo code webinar before 5 p.m. Eastern this Friday, July 29th, to register, and you can participate for $99. So that's half the price. And we'll be partnering with you for this whole process. I will say that you'll need to prepare to do some hard work. Plan to dedicate about 2 to 5 hours a week to the course. But at the end, you're going to have your year-end campaign ready and raring to go. So set it and forget it and move on to the other things you enjoy before the holiday season. Again, you can register at academy.donorbox.org, enter the promo code webinar, and get your $99 rate this week. And while you're there, we have for you a free resource. It's a peer-to-peer toolkit to help you get ready for a fun Giving Tuesday campaign. And we also have some office hours on the 4th of August where we can just kind of have a general fundraising Q&A with our Donorbox team. So I hope that maybe you wander over there and take advantage of those. Okay, as you consider your year-end plan and you think about registering for our Premier Live course, I want to share with you 2 pro tips that you can put into action today. As soon as you log off this webinar, you can do 2 things. If you called me up and said, hey, what are some things that I can do to get year-end ready? I would suggest these, some summer housekeeping maybe. 2 things you can do right now. First, plan a thankathon. So you usually have a diverse group of donors. Plan for a diverse array of activities to thank them. So send a postcard, make some phone calls, send a text, host a little thank you event. There are so many ideas that you all shared earlier that I think you could take advantage of too, but plan a thankathon. And then my other suggestion is to clean up your data. A successful year-end giving campaign is really integral. The data is really an integral piece of that, and clean data can really be helpful. So conduct a data audit You can look to see if everyone has a first name and a last name. You can check to see how many good addresses you have. Maybe you have some with no addresses that you can spend a little time researching. What names have no email addresses and what names have no phone numbers? Do you have bad zip codes? So carve out some time and treat yourself to something nice when you're done, because that is not always an easy task. So those are 2 really quick actionables. We love actionables here at Donorbox, and those will definitely help you get ready for prepping your year end. So now that we're done, it's time to move on to Q&A. And I know that Jenna has been collecting some of those Q&A questions for us. So let's take a look.
Thank you so much for that, Kara. I have to jump in and say Kara is being so humble about the work that she has done with the Donorbox Academy and the master classes. She has put in so much time and research along with many of our team members to make this an amazing course. I am working my way through the content, and even as a fundraising professional myself, I am learning so much. So I'm really glad to see that folks are already signing up. Really excited to see you there. And Emily, I love that you just texted your boss for her credit card. That is phenomenal. So I had to pop in to just give praise to Kara in this amazing course that she's built in a very timely manner. So, all right, ready for some Q&A, Kara?
Let's do it.
All right.
I see a few in there. Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so this one, we'll start at the bottom. So Tracy has asked, we just received our federal 501c3 status. Yay, congratulations.
Congrats, that's hard work.
So much hard work. So celebrate that. Take the time to celebrate. But her question is, how do we find donors? We have exhausted our family and friends with appeals help.
Tracy, I think we might get this question more than any others. And we had a little meetup earlier this week, similar to the meetup that we're going to have on the 4th. And we did spend some time talking about that, and others shared their really great ideas too. Jenna helped navigate this answer during our Q&A session, and I think it's really probably the most solid answer. So you've exhausted your family and friends with appeals for sure. And I'm assuming that involves your board. You're thinking of your board members too. I'm sure they're actively giving as well. What I would do, the approach I would take, especially this year-end giving season, is asking your family, friends, and board members to reach out to their own networks through a peer-to-peer campaign. And we do have that functionality on Donorbox. We do offer that, and we'll be happy to walk you through that if that's something you're interested in. But basically a peer-to-peer challenge. So Tracy, you would ask, each of your, let's say you have 5 board members, you would challenge each of your 5 board members to maybe find 5 or 10 people that would give to your organization this year. And then that would grow exponentially. The challenge with peer-to-peer fundraising, it's a great fundraising tool. The challenge most organizations have with peer-to-peer fundraising is keeping and growing those donors. We know that a lot of times people will give through a peer-to-peer campaign because they're supporting their friend. If Jenna asks me to help raise money for an organization she cares about, I'll give because I really care about Jenna. However, it's your job as the nonprofit to then take those new donors that you have and really steward them well. So a lot of these ways that, folks on this call shared that they engage their donors throughout the year through a quarterly newsletter or an input session or a postcard or, just a, hey, thank you for thinking of us, reminder mid-year. As you communicate with your new donors, you will grow them into supporters and then grow their network. You're probably going to have to do that until you get a really well-established donor base. I don't know if your organization has the ability to grow a newsletter list somehow. Maybe if you're at an in-person event or fair or something, you can collect some newsletter names and have a newsletter sign up on your giving page and your website. And you may just want to ask people to advocate for you. So that's where I would recommend getting started.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that question, Tracy. And I just launched the link again for our free peer-to-peer course on Donorbox Academy. So go ahead and click that, and that can help you get started, again, reaching out to those people that might not already be in your network.
Yep.
So another great question. This one is from Stephen. He says, I'm across the pond in the UK. Thanks for logging in late in your evening. Would you say that these facts and figures that you shared during your presentation today would apply to the UK as well?
You know, Stephen, that is an area I really want to grow in, and I will commit right here, right now to spend some time learning about international fundraising. The facts and figures I shared were from US data. A lot of those figures came from Giving USA. There's some new Giving USA data. Nonprofit Tech for Good has some information that I like to use as well. So I don't know. My guess is that a lot of these approaches, a lot of these practices, and a lot of the way that people think probably do relate. I'm not sure of the tax exemption though, and I don't know if maybe you can enter in the chat if there is kind of that year-end tax deduction way, you know what I'm saying? The year-end tax deduction within the UK that might be a motivator for people to give at year-end. But I would guess that the generosity is really amped up at year-end. Hey, Jenna, we have a colleague, Colin, from an agency called Few and Far in London, yes. And we have Kate on our customer success team from London. So let's double check and see if we can find that out for Stephen and get back to you.
Yes, absolutely. I just made a note, Stephen.
I would guess most donor motivation and most generosity does amp up across the board worldwide at year end, though, because Donorbox has a lot of international organizations, and that graph I showed was all of Donorbox organizations. So I would think that they encompass that as well.
Perfect. And Stephen said in the chat, charities in the UK are zero tax and get gift aid all throughout the year.
Gift aid. Yep. Okay. Awesome. Super. Well, Stephen, we'll research that a little bit more and reach out to you. I know you provided your email when you registered, so we'll double check that for you.
Absolutely. Okay, you ready for the next one?
Let's do it.
I love this one from Julianne. What is too aggressive for an end of year campaign? Having a hard time feeling out that line.
Yeah. And it's going to be different for every organization. So I really can't answer that. My recommendation, I like that 7. I like that rule of 7. I like to balance it out. The way I like to do it is 2 direct mail appeals. If you have the capacity to do a mailing, 2 mailings are really great. And then build the rest in with a social media and email campaign. So probably 5 emails at least at year end. And then when you send the emails out, make sure you have social media that echoes what you say in your emails that are scheduled to go out about the same time. That would be my recommendation. If we're nice and simple, you could probably double that and no one would call you too aggressive. One thing, this is a big one, and it's probably a personal pet peeve for me more than anything. When somebody gives to you, pull them out of future solicitations for the year through your campaign. So if somebody gives to you early in your campaign, turn that into an acknowledgement and then maybe put them in their own segments and then send them a thank you or just an update on the campaign throughout, but don't ask them multiple times. That is probably the aggressiveness that I see the most. And my favorite organization does that to me. So I give them a little grace. But when I make a big gift, I don't want to receive another email that says, hey, can you give? So just do that with caution. That's where the aggression would come in my opinion.
Thank you for that. We have a question from Michelle here, and I'm going to go ahead and hop in and answer this.
Yeah,
Michelle,
thanks.
I see that you would like to learn more about Donorbox for some of your clients. We do have a weekly live demo hosted by yours truly. If you would like to learn more about the platform, and I'm going to find the link for that. Emily or Kara with the K, if you're behind the scenes and could grab that before I do, that would be great. But Michelle would also like to learn more about Donorbox Academy. I'll be the first to note, you don't have to be a Donorbox user to sign up for the Academy. This is for everyone. But if you
Yep.
do have questions about the Academy, you can email Kara right there at academy@donorbox.org. And
Yep,
I'm going
absolutely. And so, yeah, share this with other nonprofits in your area. If you have a group that you meet with to share best ideas and practices, I know I've been parts of those throughout my career. Don't hesitate if somebody says, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, to just pass that along. So
perfect. And Michelle, bear with me as I poke around for this demo link and also coordinate my way through Q&A. Kara, do you mind looking at the questions as I grab the link?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Lisa, you said, I just registered and paid before you gave the promo code. So I paid the $129. Yes, absolutely. We'll refund you the difference there. No problem at all. Thank you. Thanks for registering. I am excited to see you inside the course. And then Lisa also asked, we just announced a large campaign a couple weeks ago on our Facebook page that will last through the end of the year. Perfect. We did not do a lot of the preparation work before launching. Can we still use that as our end of year campaign so as not to switch the focus for our donors? Absolutely. I will say that summer is typically a very slow giving season. And so I think that you probably haven't caught the attention of a lot of your donors anyway. So yeah, absolutely. Kind of keep that running in the background. Don't forget about it. Definitely communicate about it. And then we can work to really look at some benchmarks and, you're segmenting and just really fine tune that campaign for you. So absolutely keep that. Do not switch that off by any means. I think that's great.
Perfect.
Okay. Let me mark that as answer. Oh, that was sorry.
All right. We've got the link. Thank you for bearing with me.
Okay. And I'm not, I guess I didn't hit, there's a button here to put those up on the screen. Sorry about that. Okay. Troy, so could you share some tips and tricks on growing our follower supporter database this late in the year to be operationalized towards the end of the year campaign? So are you talking about donor acquisition? Is that, can you clarify that for me in the chat? Let's see. Are you looking for new donors? Okay, while he is waiting to answer, some tips and tricks for growing follower supporter database this late in the year to be operationalized before the end of the year campaign. I think it probably depends on your nonprofit too. Do you have in-person volunteer opportunities? So we're having people see your mission in action is really a great way to get people motivated and engaged. I have a graphic. I don't have it up on my screen. It's actually part of the course, but you can find it on our goal setting webinar from January. If you go to donorbox.org and navigate to resources and webinars, I have an illustration. And so what you typically want to do in fundraising is, as you identify people, you want to cultivate them and get them engaged in your organization before you ask them for money. So think about some natural ways that you can engage people in the work that you're doing in this world. So like I said, a volunteer opportunity, or I don't know if did you put in there what kind of nonprofit you are? That might help. New potential donors. Yeah, so I think it just depends on what kind of engagement opportunities you have. Definitely asking your most loyal supporters to either invite a friend to come learn about you in person, or give them some talking points that they can share on your behalf, and get their network motivated. That's usually the best way to get people in, unless you have a very visible way to showcase your mission. So I hope that those are helpful. Acquisition is hard, it's expensive, but it can pay off once you get them in your pipeline if you really do a good job taking care of your donors. And it sounds like, I remember your comment earlier in the chat, once they're in, they're really engaging, which is good. So I would ask your monthly donors to just, as you're engaging with them monthly and things like that, to ask who in their network might be interested in knowing more about your mission, and maybe engage them in a peer-to-peer fundraising campaign. You can do a fun challenge. You could also, if you could do some ad placement and things like that, if there's some people that are engaging in typical, in areas of interest like that in your community too. And sometimes you need a marketing agency to kind of help you navigate that. So that's a little more difficult, but start with easy to implement and then move to more challenging.
Thanks for that, Kara.
Yeah, good.
And Troy says peer-to-peer is a good one. Thanks.
Yeah.
I always say I'm the biggest peer-to-peer cheerleader.
You are.
I really encourage you to check that out, especially if you're trying to reach new people that you don't already have in your network.
I think seeing your mission in action and having people advocate really builds trust, and trust really grows interest in your organization.
Yep. Social proof goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
It does.
I think that was a great question to end on, and perfect timing. Stephen in the chat says he has to disappear as it is 6 p.m. there. Thank you for joining us from across the pond. Kara, any parting words before we end the session?
No, thanks for bearing with me as I'm getting signals on my screen that my battery was going out. So thank you for bearing with me. I hope to see you all inside the course. You can find us at academy.donorbox.org. And I encourage you to shout out with any questions that you have. Glad to meet you. And if you want to learn more, join us on August 4th for that office hours Ask Me Anything session. Jenna and I will be there. We'll be joined by some of our Donorbox colleagues and our team there too to help. So thanks so much, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much, everyone. And on behalf of everyone here at Donorbox, thank you for all that you do to serve others. We're so proud to present to you the tools and resources you need to do so. So thanks for being here, and we'll see you soon.